Okay, perfect. I think we're live now. So, hi everyone. Excited for the last workshop of the day. Hopefully not everyone's super tired because the hackathon didn't start yet. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give oops, I should stand near the microphone, right? Okay, perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give like a 20-minute overview of Hyperlane, what you guys can be building, and then explain basically like some housekeeping rules for the hackathon, where you can find us, some support. And I know that some people, it's their first hackathon, so it will be like more overview and kind of explaining like the idea behind Hyperlane and how we got to where we are today. And hopefully it'll be like a compact presentation for 20 minutes, give you an idea of what you can build. And yeah, without further ado, let's directly get started. So a bit about me is I'm part of the team building Hyperlane called Abacus Works. I do developer relations. I've been in the Web3 ecosystem for quite a while. It's been 4 years now. And actually, my first hackathon was ETHGlobal New York in 2022. That's when I transitioned like full-time into the industry. I was working more as a software developer, now more as an educator. But yeah, I hopefully like you guys will really enjoy your hackathon experience here as well. And so to talk about Hyperlane, Hyperlane is a framework for building open like interoperability applications. And the way we look at the blockchain landscape today is that we live in a multi-chain world where there are different layer 1 blockchains and different layer 2s. So Ethereum ran into some scalability issues. So then that's why we see like the rise of all these rollups, like Optimism Base, any different rollup as well. And also with like rollup as a services getting more like easy to build with, you also see the rise of rollup as a service platforms. So this is kind of the reality of the blockchain ecosystem today. And when you look at like how many different networks exist, is that it kind of makes a lot of sense to have like some protocol to talk between them. And that is exactly where Hyperlane fits in. And just even like to explain the like core problem is that when you have all these multiple networks, what you see between them is that there are a lot of disconnected apps. There are fragmented assets, like your assets can live on one chain, but you want to make like an interaction on another chain. So what you usually do is you go through like multiple hoops on like one network to transfer your assets first and then swap to another. Like there are a lot of like fragmented assets. And yeah, this causes like a lot of user friction, moving just slightly faster, keeping track of time. And this is kind of like an average experience, like how it looks like transacting on Ethereum, multiple networks, kind of confusing, swap between everything. And the goal is to make Ethereum feel like a single chain again. And I actually kind of want to go even beyond this sentence and say that make the whole blockchain ecosystem feel like a single chain. So then you're not only connecting Ethereum layer 2s, but also like you can connect to different layer 1 networks as well. That is exactly where interoperability comes in. So I hope now it's not just a buzzword, but there's some meaning behind what interoperability means and why we kind of need interoperability to make Ethereum or like in general the blockchain ecosystem feel more connected again. And I think I'm talking slightly fast, so I'm going to go slower. I know this is 20 minutes, so I'm kind of rushing myself. But this is exactly where Hyperlane comes in. So Hyperlane is a framework for building open interoperability applications. So what this means is that if you want to build an application that talks between different layer 2 networks and also major layer 1s, you can use Hyperlane's tooling and infrastructure. So let's say you're going to build like a DeFi application that wants to talk across like 5-6 different networks. That's exactly where you would be like, oh, like let me use Hyperlane. And so to kind of, I will walk through the components that make it possible as well, so it's not just like an abstract definition. But simply put, Hyperlane is a permissionless interoperability protocol for cross-chain communication with modular security. This is a mouthful, so I'm going to break it down. So first of all, I said permissionless. Permissionless means that anyone can run the infrastructure and everything is open source at Hyperlane. So you can completely host every infrastructure component yourself and run the tooling as well. So the second component is modular security. So Hyperlane has this building blocks called interchain security modules. We call them ISMs. And basically, they are kind of like modular building blocks. And you can plug and play according to your security risk tolerance. So you don't have to go with the default security option, but you can build different security options depending on how you want your application to work. And maybe just to make like this a bit more concrete, in like if you're building like a game, you might want speed and like less security, for example. So then you might opt in for something more fast. But if you're building like a financial application, then obviously like it has to be like some more security, so it might take like a bit of longer time. And then the last step is simplified cross-chain communication. So yeah, as we mentioned, like Hyperlane gives you out-of-the-box tools and infrastructure to move assets between chains and to allow general message passing. And I'm going to talk a bit more about how the infrastructure is broken up. So I kind of want to double-click on modular security because I think it's a very cool one. And we specifically have an infrastructure track where you can kind of experiment with building an ISM module yourself. But these are like Hyperlane security logos, as we call them. And they're essentially, like, simply put, like smart contracts that verify that the message was sent from where it is told that it's been sent. So in a more like, in a different way to explain it is basically, was this message actually sent by this person? So you can kind of use like different security mechanisms to verify it. You can use like multi-sig modules. You can use like ZK security, etc. And basically, we don't have like a specific implementation which everyone has to use, but we allow like the applications to choose their own security preferences. And the architecture, how does this work? And probably more importantly, what can I build with it? So Hyperlane overview. Hyperlane today is connected to over 150 chains. And you might be like, what does it mean to be connected to 150 chains? This means that the base core contracts are deployed in all these chains. So you have an entry into these, which we call the mailbox contracts. So if you're like, I'm building an application between Base and Optimism, you can go to the Hyperlane registry, see the networks we're connected with, and both of these networks are in there. So you basically have like the mailbox, essentially like an API and access into that network itself. So you can see over here as well, you have the mailbox contracts on both chains. So they are your interfaces into all these different networks. Where Hyperlane is deployed means like where the mailbox contracts are deployed and where the relayer runs. And you can view all this in the Hyperlane registry on the documentation. And secondly, I want to kind of double-click on the relayer component. That is an off-chain agent which carries the messages from one chain to another. It's open source, so you can either use like Hyperlane's hosted relayer service, or you can like deploy one yourself. If it's like not running on a certain chain, you can like it's available to run by anyone who wants to. And then, so essentially what happens is that a sender sends a message to the mailbox on one chain. It's carried by the relayer to the destination chain, and we are given that. So the mailboxes are like basically smart contracts deployed. The relayer is the off-chain agent that carries the message. The recipient gets the message. And then there is the interchain security module, which basically verifies that the message is like adhering to the security requirements of that chain. So interchain security modules might also use like some other agents, like validators. If you're using like a multi-sig module, you can like use proofs of validators to verify that message was sent from a certain chain. But it can also like do basic computation, like anything which you kind of want to configure. So this is kind of like an architecture overview of how Hyperlane looks like. And I kind of want to double click on a few tools and components that you can use, or more the features that we built out. Because after we built this architecture, we realized, okay, most people want to do like similar use cases. So we should have like easier building blocks for people to do these kind of similar use cases, such as asset transfers. So that is where like the different Hyperlane features will come in. And one of them is Hyperlane warp routes. So Hyperlane warp routes are essentially what you can use for asset transfers between chains. So simply put, they're like a collection of smart contracts to route tokens between chains. On top of what we saw in the previous diagram, I think there's another diagram here. Okay, perfect. So there are like a few extra smart contracts that are deployed directly when you deploy a Hyperlane warp route. So You can transfer like a token, like make an asset transfer, an ERC20 token transfer between one chain to another chain. And depending on the Hyperlane warp route type you choose, it can be like a collateral to synthetic route. It can be a native to synthetic route. Like you have the different options which you can choose. And so what this allows you to do is that, let's say you have like your token on a certain network, let's say Base, since I gave the same example a bit earlier, and you want to have like it on Polygon as well. So you can create like a Hyperlane warp route to have your collateral token from Base to also be represented in Polygon or Optimism or like almost all the chains that Hyperlane is already deployed on. And just to make sure I don't miss anything, yeah, they support various assets, including ERC20 and ERC721 tokens for certain compatible chains. I do want to mention that Hyperlane warp routes are not just for EVM chains, but you can also do SVM-based warp routes for like a Solana transfer or an EVM to SVM transfer as well. So something which you can use if you will be building cross-chain applications, any kind of tokenized assets you can have representing on different chains. And yeah, this is Hyperlane warp routes. As I mentioned, there are different types of Hyperlane warp routes, from native token transfer, collateral-backed, synthetic, etc. You can go to our docs to see. I do want to make an addition. I don't have the slide here, but there is also Hyperlane warp routes 2.0, which I think are a cool option to be building with at the hackathon as well. What they basically do is they allow you to have multiple chains as your origin and destination as well. So in this example, what we see is there's like one Ethereum and one Base. Ethereum is the collateral chain, and Base is the synthetic chain. So let's say you want to have like two origins for a certain token, like two pools of certain tokens. You want both Base, or Ethereum and Optimism, and then you also want to connect to Base. So you can basically have like balancing between all these different pools with Hyperlane warp routes 2.0. And again, you can check the docs for that. They're available under the Hyperlane warp route section. But I just want to make a specific call out that it's not just like one-to-one chain-to-one chain transfer, but basically you can have like two chains going to like settling on a certain chain to make the transfer as well. The issue before was when we worked on it is that when you have like two different liquidity where you want to source it from, is that you need to somehow like balance the tokens between them in case there's like a rebalancing. Like let's say you have like Ethereum and Optimism, but on one the tokens are finished because they're all like transferred to the other chain, for example. So Hyperlane warp routes allows for like native rebalancing. So once there's a rebalance, it will automatically trigger like a call to swap certain assets. Yeah, so like they're like something we recently launched. I think it's been like over a month, and you can check the docs to build something with it. It's the first time at this hackathon with Hyperlane warp routes 2.0, so might be something cool to do. And then secondly, interchain accounts. So I'm basically talking about like the different building blocks of what you can use with Hyperlane. And the second one I want to mention is Hyperlane interchain accounts. Now, I'm not going to go into super much details because I also want to do like a Hyperlane warp route demo if I have time. But interchain accounts are another tool set which you can use. And basically what they do is they enable a contract on one chain to interact with any contract on another chain. So when you want, like, you can use them for cross-chain execution, enabling contracts to trigger function calls on different remote chains. It's worth noting that interchain accounts are on EVM only at the moment. So you can definitely use it to make sure so that it allows you to run a function call on a destination chain without having to like go through the hassle of like building all the infrastructure yourself. I'm going to give a case study in the end which uses interchain accounts. Veldrum SuperSwaps recently launched, and they use interchain accounts to actually like make the swap single click for a user, which basically swaps the assets and make the transfer for you as well. But hopefully that case study will also make it more clear and give you like some idea of what you can build with interchain accounts. I'm going to grab my water. And then again, I kind of want to like call out ISMs one more time. I'm not going to be here for much details, but basically ISMs are responsible for verifying that the messages are secure, and it's a key component to Hyperlane. So you can definitely build something around ISMs, build a new custom ISM. We have we have an ISM marketplace on our Hyperlane documentation, which shows you what are the available ISMs. Essentially, they're basically like some smart, like standard ISMs that were developed by the Hyperlane team. But then there are also like community-built ISMs, which you can see there as well. You can see the status, and you can see kind of what are the ISMs available, what you can do with them. And yeah, so ISMs are not just something which the core team builds, but anyone can actually build and use them for according to their security requirements. And the case study, so I do have 3 minutes left, but I have I don't have the link here. But once you Google Veldrum Super Swaps, you'll basically see it on their website and on Hyperlane blog as well. But what they use is, I think this is a cool case study because it doesn't just use a single Hyperlane tool, but it uses interchain accounts, Hyperlane warp routes, and OpenUSDT, which is another one which I didn't mention, but OpenUSDT is a stablecoin launched by Hyperlane, Chainlink, and Celo. It's basically an interoperable stablecoin that allows you to transfer, USDT between the different chains it's deployed on. And that's what Veldrum Super Swaps uses. So it uses Hyperlane warp routes. The HWR is Hyperlane warp routes to bridge assets to different chains. It uses interchain accounts to reduce multiple transactions, so like swapping and like to execute like a remote contract call on a different chain into a single flow. And it also uses OpenUSDT, which is the stable coin that facilitates all this. And that's why I think it's a cool study, because you can see like different Hyperlane features used in a single example. And yeah, it's pretty recent, highly suggested to look into it. I think it can give you like really good ideas on what to build for the hackathon. It's on the Hyperlane blog, and just want to call this out. And for ETHGlobal New York, what do we have? We have 10K bounties, separate across 3 categories. We'll be here for in real life support. We have a booth downstairs. I don't exactly know how to explain, but I think it's like actually like just down here or like in the end. We'll be there for in real life support, and then we also have remote Discord support. So you can join the Hyperlane Discord under the developers section. You'll see ETHGlobal New York Hackathon. If we're not here, we'll try to be active at the Discord. So please do feel free to ask your questions, to come to us, and we'll for sure like try our best to work there. And then you can scan the QR code. I believe it goes to the documentation, if I'm not mistaken. And I do have 2 minutes left. 1 minute? Can I do 2 minutes?
What's the difference between Hyperlane and Layer 0? Because Layer 0 just has stakes,
Really? I actually didn't realize that. Well, I guess the core like problem we're both trying to solve is the same. So interoperability between chains. I think there are like different routes we took in like the infrastructure decisions. I guess like what I can say is Hyperlane is on over 150 chains, which I believe like Layer 0 is more like on not as many chains from my knowledge. And we have most of like all our like not just most, but like all our components is open source. So you are able to like run the layer yourself. You can have a bit more custom configuration from what I know. And I guess it's kind of up to the use case you want to do, or like how many chains you want to reach, or like how much like different building blocks you want to switch in and out. But yeah, kind of, I didn't know it was just before. That's funny. So I know I have so little time yet, but I kind of want to show how to deploy a Hyperlane warp routes. Can I do that, or do we close? I guess I can't, unless someone tells me. So you can use the Hyperlane CLI to do this. So all I need to do is I do a Hyperlane warp init, which initializes a Hyperlane warp route for me. You can go onto the docs to see like the Hyperlane CLI, which you might want to use to build like a Hyperlane warp route. Or if you want to use a Hyperlane TypeScript SDK, you can do that if you're building like a cross-chain application. For interchain accounts, you'll directly need to talk to the contract. So like all this information is available in the docs. And if you can't find the information, you can find me, and I'll show you where it is. So I'm going to select mainnet. Now let's say I'm not actually going to deploy this because of time. Let's say I choose base. And then I choose, like, what network should we choose? Like, let's just choose something like, well, let's choose Ethereum. I'm not going to deploy this because I don't want to deploy to mainnet. But then I click yes. And then I need to, like, choose an address for this. I'm just going to stick to no. And then it asks me, so like, as we said, we need the types for the Hyperlane warp routes, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select like a synthetic token on base. And that will, sorry, not a synthetic, but a collateral token, meaning a token that is already like an ERC20 deployed on base. And then I'm going to create like a synthetic representation on it on the second network, which we chose Ethereum because of time constraints, but we're not actually going to deploy this, so that's fine. So I choose collateral, and then I need to enter the existing token address on base. So what I'm going to do is I actually have like a workshop on GitHub for this. So I know because of time limitations, we're not going to be able to finish this. But if you go over here to the Hyperlane Developer Workshop, I have over here already the Phi token, I believe. So I'm just going to copy this. You can go over here. I have like a developer workshop of Hyperlane warp routes to see how it works. If the link is not available, I can post this on the Discord as well, so you'll have access to it. And then I just simply paste this address. I enter the desired owner address. It's this address. I'm going to click no for this to move fast. So what I did was I said, like, hey, I want to use like this collateral token that is already on base to be the root. And then I'm going to like create a synthetic representation on another chain. So I click synthetic for the second one. And it asks me, hey, is this correct? I click yes. Basically, it created like all the configuration for my Hyperlane warp route. I did it by running Hyperlane warp inits. I believe the next command we run is Hyperlane warp deploy. And this will ask for the settings of what you need to deploy. And it will automatically deploy all the like warp routes contracts that we saw on the second image. This is going to ask me for my token, like my private key. It asks me, I believe this was like Phi Ethereum. I think it's at the end. And then it asks me for my private key. Now, I'm not going to continue to deploy this because I know I'm already past time. But basically, you need to ensure that you have the gas to pay for this. And then all it does is it directly deploys you your Hyperlane warp routes. And then what this means is that now you have one collateral token on. Like it creates you a lockbox, which locks your collateral tokens and then mints synthetic representations on another chain. And let me actually like head over to the Hyperlane docs to show you where you can find more information as well. So if you go to the Hyperlane docs, you'll have everything I talked about. You have over here under applications, Hyperlane warp routes, and the interchain accounts. I basically just followed this guide on Hyperlane warp routes. I think it's like get started, bridge a token guide. And all I had to do was, once I have the Hyperlane CLI, I can create like an asset bridge between any chains that Hyperlane is deployed on. If Hyperlane is not deployed on that chain, well, then you can actually go to the guide to deploy Hyperlane on your own chain to deploy it first. So let's say you're building with a network which doesn't have a Hyperlane deployment, you are definitely able to do that as well. Perfect. I think I'm a bit past time, but benefits of being the last one presenting, right?
I have a question. So every time, or most of the time that I use a warp route, I will create like a wrap token on the second chain.
You don't need to. You can create like a collateral, like you can create a lockbox. You don't have to do like a collateral to synthetic routes. You can do a collateral to collateral as well, or like different setup.
So imagine I have USDC in base and I want to move USDC to Optimism. Is it possible, like to the same value without wrapping it?
No. So you would need to like lock one token in one chain. Like if you create like two different lock boxes on the chains and you lock your collateral assets, like then you can like mint from that collateral assets. But no, it's like still a wrapped version. Okay. That makes sense.
It will always be like a wrapped version of the token. unless it's native.
Yeah.
When it's native, then it can be.
Exactly. You can do like a native to like synthetic or collateral transfer as well.
So I could seamlessly transfer ETH from Base to Optimism without having to wrap in it. That's what.
Yeah, I know. So I think like if you have your own collateral token which you own on one chain, then you can actually like lockbox it, like create a lockbox and lock the tokens, and then once you like make a like in that case, you can make like a collateral to collateral transfer if you have like ownership over the tokens there.
No, but I mean when it's native, for example, Ethereum, like a gas token on Base and Optimism.
I don't think you need the wrap version, but I don't want to like give you a wrong answer. I think someone at the booth will be able to answer better. Like, I don't know. I know, down at the booth. I'm like, so there is Nam or like someone else at the booth who I believe can answer. I have an idea, but I don't know if I'm correct. So I think like that will be actually better. Perfect. Just on time. Are we still live or? Okay. Awesome. Maybe people are watching.